Hi, my name is Tawana Schuler. I currently live in El Paso, Texas. I am a U.S. Army veteran and I work as a program support assistant for the telehealth department at the El Paso VA. So I was born in Guyana. It is a country in South America and it is the only English-speaking country in that continent. And I migrated to the United States when I was 17 years old and we lived in Brooklyn, New York prior to me joining the U.S. Army in 2007. I spent 4 years in the military and I deployed to Iraq and to Afghanistan. I began cooking when I was 9 years old. I remember asking my mom to teach me and she said I was too short. Well, I'm still short, but guess what? I can cook, period. Okay, so a few nights ago, I tried my hand at making meatloaf, but instead of using beef, I used ground chicken and some pork to help maintain the moisture. However, it did not turn out so great. It was a little dry. It was tasty, but it was a little dry. So the other day, I tried my hand at making meatloaf, and this is what I have. Yeah, it's not the most appealing or one of my biggest or best meals. However, I am going to turn this into something even more delicious. So I showed you my filled meatloaf. Well, I don't want to call it filled because it was pretty good still. A little dry, but good. So I'm going to take a few things, a few fresh ingredients, and I'm going to jazz it up and turn it into a whole different, much tastier meal. Here my meatloaf, and I have some sun-dried tomato pesto that I picked up the other day. It's pretty good. And some breakfast sausage, and then also some fresh cut sage, spring onions, shallots and garlic, and also this rainbow chard that I'm gonna add to the mixture that I'm making. I like to cook with a lot of garlic, and I will be adding 4 cloves of garlic to my to the meal that I'm making, and because I wanted to have a bit of a sweeter kind of taste, to take away from some of the super earthiness that's going to come from the rainbow chard, I'm going to use shallots instead of regular onions. Funny enough, in Guyana, we actually call these, the spring onions, we call these shallots. So I didn't learn really what a shallot was until a few years ago, watching a cooking show. I'm like, oh, let me give this a try, and they're actually really, really good. When cooking, I like my food to have a lot of color and also a whole lot of flavor. So that's why I often add a lot of fresh herbs and spices and things like bell peppers to most of my meals. Just because it gives it that really nice, just that look. It makes it even more appealing and just a little more pleasant to the eye. Okay. So it is Friday night, so cheers. Okay, let's get these onions chopped. That smells amazing already. Okay, so let's get all of the chopping out of the way. I already took the stems out of the rainbow chard and washed them, of course. Now let's chop these up. I really just love the color and the taste too, but with most leafy greens, I find they don't carry a lot of flavor. It all depends on all of the good stuff that you add to it. And it's also healthy. Can't beat that. Okay. So because I'm going to be mixing this in with my meatloaf, I want it just a little smaller, although it's going to cook down. So my intent is to have this as sort of a sausage or meat filling. All right, that's just how I want it. And now I really love to cook with sage. It's actually one of my favorites. I love making a brown butter chicken, or when I make a spatchcock roasted chicken, I use sage, rosemary, and thyme with some garlic, salt, and pepper, and really that's all of the seasoning I need for that chicken, and it's just fail-proof. I'm just gonna chop this sage up really small. Already washed it, dried it off. It's nice and little. That smells so good. So, okay. Some sausage, just some regular breakfast sausage. I decided to add this to give a little more flavor to the meatloaf. So I'm just gonna crumble that in there. So I'm just going to be breaking this down. Some nice little crumbles here. And some chicken. So while that cooks, I will work on my meatloaf. Okay. So I need to Yeah. Now, I had seasoned this with some oregano and a little bit of Italian seasoning, salt and pepper. And don't get me wrong, it really does have a nice flavor to it. Just that it was a little dry. I may have overcooked it. So, better luck next time. As for now, it's going to be used to create this awesome, meaty filling, super flavorful filling for some chicken breast that I have. So while I'm not gonna completely break down the meatloaf, I just want it to be just a little smaller so it could really blend with the sausage and get some new flavors going here. So, okay. What I'm going to do is add a little bit of olive oil, and then I'm going to add my shallots. Put that going in there. Get that cooking. I'm going to add my sage, my garlic, that smells amazing. And then I'm going to add my rainbow chard. A little more. And also some salt and fresh ground black pepper, of course. To all of this, I'm going to add some of this red pepper pesto. Sun-dried red pepper pesto. This is just amazing. Put some chicken stock in there to bring some more moisture to my meatloaf. I think I want to add a little more of that pesto. That smells amazing. Okay. Here I have 3 chicken breasts, which I cut open just a little bit with enough room for me to put some of that awesome stuffing I just made right there. So I'm going to put salt and pepper on the outside of them. And on the inside as well. Shake, shake, shake. Shake, shake, shake. Okay, so let's do some on the bottom as well. Alright, let's get some pepper on these. Little pepper. There's some right here. Okay, so ideally I would want this to cool down just a little before I start stuffing the chicken. But I also have a pan, an oven-safe pan with olive oil in it that I'm going to use to sear the chicken just a little. Okay, so we're going to just put that in there. Just in there. And the chicken with the filling I just made. And then I'm just going to sear it off in a pan with some olive oil. So I stuffed the chicken breast with that filling that I made using my meatloaf. And now I'm just going to sear it in a pan. And what I'm using a cast iron skillet, which is also an oven-safe pan, because my intentions are to bake these in the oven just to finish it off. So I seared them on the one side so far, and let's get this one done. Nice and easy. There we go. Ooh, lovely. So I'm going to sear them a little bit on the underside and then add a little chicken stock. And then put it in my 375 degree warmed oven and finish them off. Here I use some more of the pesto and some chicken stock that I'm going to use to just pour over my stuffed chicken breast just a little to give it a little more color as to what I really wanted to have. So let's see here. And also, let me turn the heat down a little. And just because I have a little bit of chicken stock left, just gonna put that in there so it could help create a nice little sauce for the chicken as well. Because although I am not short on flavor, when it came to my leftover meatloaf, I was definitely short on some moisture. So I am just going to cover this with some foil paper, just a little loosely, before I put it in the oven. Okay, so now I'm gonna put this in the oven for about 15 minutes. Okay, so I did turn it off at 15 minutes and I put it on the broiler for 2 minutes or so just to get a little bit more color on there. Alright, so here we have it. How's that? Okay, and I'm gonna serve it with just some pan-seared asparagus, one of my favorites. And let's just add some of that sauce. And here you go.